What if I could tell you that you can win $3 million by sitting at a desk and using a mouse and keyboard? Well, that's exactly what Booga did in 2019 at the Fortnite World Cup. I decided to research the differences between esports and ordinary sports to see if it can be considered to have the same level of respect to this day. And I believe that esports has the same amount of strategy and teamwork as an ordinary sport and more struggles that can prevent their chances of winning any tournament that can be holding any amount of money. Which brings me to my main points that I'm going to be discussing. The differences, the physical injuries, and struggles of esports. Moving on to the first topic, let's discuss the arguments everyone uses, which are the differences. Most people will point out the most obvious differences, which are physical parts and the teamwork, but on a website, esports.net, they talked about the argument of esports not having any physical movement such as running, throwing, catching, or fighting, but they counter it with the statement, well, teamwork, strategy, skill, and of course competition, everything we love about football, there are more parallels in the esports versus sports debate, such as teams, drafts, betting, fantasy leagues, and more. These elements have been noticed in many places around the world, especially in South Korea. Even some colleges have started their own esports teams to help pursue the students who may have a competitive future in it. Some examples of colleges that have an esports scholarship and program are Maryville University, NYU, University of California, University of Utah, and so on. It really gives them a chance to spread out their opportunity of esports becoming a real thing and becoming a really big part of the community and really getting people out there. It's very hard to get into teams. It's very hard to get into the whole scene and become big. Most people don't even make it that big by going into small competitions. This really helps push it forward. And now that we covered the argument that people have against the physicality of esports, let's talk about the physical injuries that can occur. With physical plays, there can be physical injuries as well. There are many injuries that can occur on the esports scene. Despite the minor physical movements, in March 2022, there was an article in the Washington Post by Gregory Leparati that talks about a professional Call of Duty player who announced his retirement due to lingering injuries. The injury he had suffered was from a ganglion cyst that had grown on his thumb tendons and had to go through surgery in 2016. It had really held him back throughout his career later on, leading to his retirement. The article states a research associate of German Sport University Cologne said esports might not seem as active as traditional sports, he said, but gamers are performing micromovements and motor skills that without preventative measures can very much harm their bodies. Despite the esports scene not being so active, there are struggles that can occur. In the presentation, you can see that there are many injuries that can happen. The major one is carpal tunnel, which gives you wrist pain, finger pain. It can really make your hand really sting and hurt whenever you're playing games after a while. You can also get headaches. It can ruin your eyes being so close to a monitor for so long. From sitting down, you can slouch, you can ruin your posture, you can ruin your spinal, you can ruin your back and everything. There are many things that can be ruined from just sitting down all day and playing games, which is important to get up and just take a walk sometimes. But every game can have their bugs or glitches in them, and players can come across them during tournaments worth loads of money. While it isn't uncommon for these to happen, it is very annoying. In an article on earlygame.com, they discuss different kinds of glitches that happen during tournaments and ruin some players' experiences in games like Fortnite, PUBG, and Apex Legends. There are many instances that can be talked about, but I only talk about the most game-changing ones. In PUBG, there was a tournament that had been held, and there had been many issues with the game because it was so early into the beta. Like seeing through walls, physics glitching out, a notable one being a player running a car into a building which sent it flying into the air, crashing down and knocking him out of the tournament. In an Apex tournament, it was a common occurrence for players to randomly disconnect from the servers and holding back their placements. There was a whole situation where a guy's team had really just disconnected during the whole tournament and they didn't do anything about it and they just continued the tournament as is and his team got kicked out. As you can see on the presentation, PUBG on the top has a rare, not very rare, but very common occurrence of going under the map and being able to see. And most of the time, this will kill your character, and you will be kicked out of the tournament, or that just counts as a kill. And on the bottom, there's a Fortnite screenshot of the truck being in the air, which I don't think you know is not supposed to be up in the air. It's a truck. But there are many glitches that can happen in the games, and can be very annoying for the players. So let me wind down the speech for you all. I believe esports has the same amount of strategy and teamwork as ordinary sports, and more struggles that can prevent their chances of winning. And I've proven that by going over the main differences between people bringing up the physical injuries that can occur, the physicality of the sport, and the struggles that can occur in the esports scene. Esports has come a long way from being seen as a waste of time to being a multi-million competition that anyone could win by trying harder than others. I hope this opened a new view of esports scene for you most, and I thank you for listening. I'm sorry I couldn't be in class, but I had a busy day, so I had to record this. But thank you for listening. I had a great year with you guys.